On the news, U.S. Secretary of State visits President Buhari in Abuja. Death toll in Sokoto attack rises to 43. And Niger's economy grows by over 4% in third quarter of 2021. We're glad to have you join us on News Now. I am Folashade Ogurinde. The United States Secretary of State Anthony Blinken is meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari at the presidential villa in Abuja. Blinken arrived at the Aso Rock Villa around 3:47 p.m. and was received at the forecourt by State Chief of Protocol Lawal Kazore, who had led him to the President's office. After the meeting with Buhari, the Secretary of State will proceed to the office of the Vice President, Yemi Osinbajo, where agreements between Nigeria and the U.S. will be signed. Blinken will thereafter hold a joint press conference with Minister of Foreign Affairs Geoffrey Oyema before departing the presidential villa. Meanwhile, the United States has removed Nigeria from the list of religious violators. The U.S. government has last year placed Nigeria on its special watch list of states that had engaged in or tolerated a severe violation of religious freedom. But in a statement released on Wednesday by the U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, the country blacklisted Russia, China, and 8 other countries, excluding Nigeria. The senator representing Taraba South Senatorial District, Emmanuel Boucha, has raised an alarm over the invasion of Cameroon separatist group Ambazonia of Manga community in Takum local government area of Taraba State. Boucha will raise the concern said the territorial sovereignty of Nigeria was under threat by the invasion and called on the military to immediately swing into action to prevent the eventual occupation of the Manga community by the separatist group. The senator was coming under a point of order during plenary, bemoaned the sacking of residents of the Manga village and killing of the village head along with some residents.
This village came under attack by the Ambazonia forces or separatist movement from southwest Cameroon. And the village head and 4 others were killed in this attack. Mr. President, I consider this as an attack on our territorial integrity, like I said, and our sovereignty as an independent nation. And one life lost in an attack like this cannot be taken lightly. And I rise this morning to draw the attention of my countrymen, and particularly the security operatives. Takum local government houses the 23 Battalion of the Nigerian Army. And so, Mr. President, it is my humble submission that the Nigerian Army will rise to the challenge and curb this unwanted territorial expansion.
The death toll in the bandits' attack on 2 local government areas in Sokoto State has risen to 43. This was disclosed by Governor of Sokoto State Aminu Tambuwal, who visited Ilela, one of the areas affected by the attack. According to a statement by Muhammad Bello, his special advisor on media, Tambuwal led members of the state's executive and the Security Council, as well as other top government officials, on a condolence visit to the people of Ilela. Gunmen had stormed Goronyo and Ilela areas between Sunday night and Monday morning and killed several locals. Earlier, Tambuwal had confirmed the attack by suspected marauders on some villages, saying 15 people were killed at the first instance. However, at the time of the governor's visit on Thursday, the death toll had risen to 43. As the 2022 appropriation bill is still being considered by the National Assembly, Chairman Senate Committee on Communications, Oluremi Tinubu, has pleaded that there should be allocation for the Niger Postal Service (NIPOS). Speaking with journalists in Abuja after presenting the report of a committee to the Chairman Senate Committee on Appropriations, Barao Jibrin, Tinubu said that allocation to NIPOs would enable it discharge its responsibilities effectively and efficiently. She added that the National Assembly has proposed a law to give NIPOs the autonomy they require, adding that as the agency has a lot of properties, they can also delve into the real estate sector.
As we speak, our NIPOs is supposed to be doing very well. If they are built up real well, they can also have like a bank. If I want to even exchange money when I go abroad, I go to the post office. At times you go to the bank, you have the option of the post office. So if you have that, why can't we develop a postal system? And as we speak, the laws we proposed is to give them the autonomy they require, and they have a lot of properties that they can also go into real estate and, and that they can be self-sustaining. They only have about 4 billion. And the minister has magnanimously decided to give 200 million to NIPOs. And then, which is by law, they used to say, thank God that people are quiet about padding. But, what padding is done is like, at times we take all these projects, it's within the ambience of capital, and take it back to our constituents, various constituencies, which we've done.
The House of Representatives has expressed overwhelming support for the bill, which seeks to provide free healthcare services to Nigerian children across the country. The legislation, which was sponsored by a member, Bello Koyeje, explained that the services will be rendered across all government-owned hospitals across the country. Our correspondent, Anita Patrick, tells us more in this report.
With over 80 million Nigerians living below poverty line, access to quality and affordable healthcare has increasingly become difficult. As a solution, the nation's Green Chamber is proposing a bill offering free healthcare services for children. In the bill sponsored by the House of Representatives member Bello Koyeje, free diagnosis and treatments as well as access to preventive interventions will be included.
Referral cases of children from other state, local government hospital or any other private hospital in Nigeria. Mr. Speaker, monitoring and implementation of the bill is to ensure implementation of this act upon commencement on the Federal Ministry of Health shall make definite procedures, guidelines, as well as monitor and implement the provision of this act, coordinate free healthcare service delivery to these children in Nigeria, and ensure transparency and accountability in the free healthcare service delivery.
Despite the lofty ideas of the bill, lawmakers argued on the need to guarantee adequate funding and undertake up-to-date research on child care delivery in the country.
What is the statistics of children in this country? What is the quantum of medical bills settled by families for children in this country? Do we have a corresponding provision in the budget that the Primary Healthcare Development Agency can be able to support these families in providing this free medical care? Mr. Speaker, we make the budget, we also make the laws. And if we do not have provisions in our budget that will support what we are trying to put into law, we will be helping in putting up laws that are unimplementable in our country.
Since the essence of their being is to provide health care delivery services as national primary health care in rural areas, it is assumed that whatever money that is appropriated to them, they must profit into providing that health care delivery service.
In his remarks, Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila noted the concerns raised. He, however, said that the bill, if passed into law, will give the needed push to all related laws on healthcare service delivery.
Promote family life, assist those who are in need in any way whatsoever, and then the first one, 3D. If you put all those three together, he is now giving teeth to it by saying whether this, even in 15, 20 years' time, a government must comply with this law that child delivery must be free.
The bill was eventually adopted after getting a favorable majority support and referred to the House Committee on Healthcare Services for further legislative action. Anita Patrick, TV360, Abuja.
The need to reduce the rate of trafficking in persons and smuggling of migrants within the West African sub-region has birthed the launch of a regional platform. To extensively mitigate this menace, the Network Against Child Trafficking, Abuse and Labor, in partnership with the Action Against Trafficking in Persons and Smuggling of Migrants, with funding by the European Union, has launched a regional network in Abuja, the nation's capital. Our correspondent, Muhammadu, now reports.
Overcoming the increased rate of unsafe migration and trafficking in persons in West Africa is the reason for this gathering in Abuja. To tackle the multi-billion-dollar industry where vulnerable people are targeted, concerned groups have joined forces to launch a regional network termed the West African Coalition Against Trafficking in Persons and Smuggling of Migrants.
Basically, remember when we started to discuss about how to create this idea today has been presented as a reduction. And at the beginning was easy was to say in which of our 5 Ps we can involve obviously in the partnership to try to create a better collaboration between the countries in the region of West Africa.
I think it is a great idea to launch this regional platform, WACTIPSOM, as also all the Western African countries can collaborate among them. Spain will be there always for you, and we will always try to help you as much as you need.
The government is already collaborating at international cooperation, regional cooperation, so we need the civil society component of it to also cooperate across the region. And so this platform is coming at the right time to supplement what we have already existing within the government approach.
On the part of the former Director General of the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, Julia Kadonli, the platform could not have come at a better time as collaboration is key to addressing the menace of trafficking.
Like I always say, if we are doing all we can in Nigeria to fight human trafficking and smuggling of migrants, but the other countries, the neighboring countries, are not doing anything or are not doing as much or are not collaborating with us, it will be an exercise in futility, because what that means is that we are trying to stop it here, but it is going on in other countries, and so there's no point. It's just a waste of time and energy.
For us to also be able to move faster than the perpetrators of trafficking in persons, gender-based violence, those who don't mean well for our children and young people, we also need to have a very formidable platform.
Trafficking being an organized crime, and smuggling of migrants also being a crime that traverses international borders, it becomes necessary for us to form a coalition, so that we can be able to handle the crimes.
Reports from the United Nations have shown that 80% of victims in West Africa are trafficked for forced labor, with 16 West African countries endorsing the launch of WACTIPSOM. Stakeholders say the platform will help rescue millions who are victims of trafficking. Muhammadu, TV360, Abuja.
We'll take a break here, but still to come, NFF to determine fate of Super Eagles coach Gennett Rohr. We'll bring you details of the story and more right after this break. Glad to have you back. Here is a reminder of some of our top stories tonight. The United States Secretary of State Antony Blinken is meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari at the presidential villa in Abuja. Blinken arrived at the Aso Rock Villa around 3:47 p.m. and was received at the forecourt by State Chief of Protocol Lawal Kazore, who led them to the President's office. After the meeting with Buhari, the Secretary of State will proceed to the office of the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, where agreement between Nigeria and the U.S. will be signed. We also told you that the death toll in the Bandits attack on 2 local government areas in Sokoto State has risen to 43. This was disclosed by Governor of Sokoto State Aminu Tambuwal, who visited Leila, one of the areas affected by the attack. According to a statement by Mohammed Bello, his special advisor Media, Tambuwal led members of the state executive and the Security Council as well as other top government officials on a condolence visit to the people of Leila. Gunmen that stormed Goronye and Ilela areas between Sunday night and Monday morning and killed several locals. But in case you missed any of our news bulletin, for more updates, do log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Google Plus at TV360 Nigeria. On Facebook, we are at TV360 Online. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, has confirmed 82 new COVID-19 cases across the country on Wednesday. According to an update from the agency, the new cases were reported in 8 states as Rivers State topped the chart with 52 infections, while Kano and Kebbi states recorded 9 and 6 cases each, increasing the country's infection total to 213,403. No new death was, however, recorded on Wednesday, leaving the fatality rate at 2,973. As part of COVID-19 response and other infectious diseases preparedness, the Lagos State government is set to establish an infectious disease research institute at the Mainland Infectious Disease Hospital in Yaba. This was made known by the Commissioner for Health in the state, Akin Abayomi, when he played host to the country's Director of Center for Disease Control, CDC, Mary Boyd. Giving further information about the facility, Abayomi explained that the institute will attract international collaborators as well as researchers from all over the world and generally contribute to the improvement of the country's healthcare system.
Let me say that Mr. Governor, in his deep understanding of these threats that face Lagosians, has committed in this very facility the immediate to long-term plan. And the plan is already well advanced on the drawing boards of international architects to develop what we call the Infectious Disease Research Institute. That facility you're going to see right now has we have completely outgrown its space. And so hopefully in the first or second quarter of 2022, we will break ground with the Infectious Disease Research Institute, and we will be building in there a facility that's going to attract international collaborators and researchers to make Lagos a center of research. We're very particular about all our designs now in keeping with Mr. Governor's blueprint for the transformation of the health sector. All our new buildings are low energy. They pay attention to infection prevention control, natural ventilation, natural cooling, function and flow.
I will take a break here and return with more stories. To stay with us. Well, up next is business news with Abisola Adebayo. Over to you, Bisola.
Thank you very much, Folashade. Welcome to Business News. Latest data from the National Bureau of Statistics indicates that the nation's economy grew by 4.03% in the third quarter of 2021. However, this represents a slower growth compared to 5.01% recorded in the previous quarter. The non-oil sector delivered a major share in the GDP growth, contributing as much as 92.51%. The sector was driven mainly by trade as well as information and communication. Meanwhile, the oil sector contracted by 10.73% year-on-year in the same period. The contraction is largely attributed to the decline in crude oil production. Well, joining me now to discuss this further is Chief Economist of Streetnomics Limited, Gospel Obele. Thank you very much for joining us on the news. Now, how significant is the recent data from MBS, which indicated an economic growth of 4.03% in the third quarter of 2021?
Yeah, thank you for having me. So, yeah, it's pretty much an impressive start in terms of telling us that the economy is recovering and economic activities are as well picking up. We've also seen clearly that non-oil is the mainstay of the Nigerian economy. If given the necessary formalization, if given the necessary access to market solutions and necessary infrastructure enablement, all right, to unlock its potentials further. So yes, the numbers speak to the fact that the Nigerian economy is recovering, but it's a different conversation when you look at it from the context of improved livelihoods. But this is fundamentally a welcome development as it speaks significantly to attracting investments and other initiatives to take off from there.
Well, now, despite contributing a larger chunk of the nation's economic growth, the non-oil sector saw a decline from 92.58% in the second quarter to 92.58% in the third quarter under review. Now, what do you make of this?
Yeah, the non-oil sector in the case. We've seen that a lot of activities in the non-oil space have happened because SMEs and economic agents in that space over time are proving to be more resilient in their approach to, finding what works rather than just a coordinated government policy, to unlocking potentials in that space. Secondly, the fact that a lot of the growth drivers in non-oil space hinge around the critical mass in terms of trade, information, communication, finance, and the likes. These are things, some form of items that individuals or services individuals interact with on a day-to-day basis. So these sectors have grown to be more resilient, in how they have evolved over time in terms of GDP structure and development. It ensures that the government needs to tap into its potential to unlock it further for improved revenue structure and potentials for the Nigerian economy.
But on the other hand, oil sector performance for the third quarter showed some interesting patterns, especially in its growth rate. Beyond the reduction in decline in crude oil production, why do you think the oil sector is actually struggling right now?
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier in the Money Matters engagement earlier in the day, despite the fact that, yes, globally oil prices have improved, that narrative is completely different when you look at it from an angle of internal alignment and engagement, to scale oil sector performance. There are conversations around the dollar to naira issue, assessing foreign exchange, for players in that sector. Do not also forget that we export crude oil, and import the finished product. So all of those internal pricing war and dynamics has also impacted on the drag growth, if you like to put, of the oil sector space in contributing to the Nigerian GDP and all that. And that drag has come to stay because these are more internal issues. There's a fuel subsidy conversation on the table. There's a Petroleum Industry Act conversation on the table. So generally, oil sector agents in itself are not having an easy time trying to pull off growth prospect for the sector when it comes to GDP construct, and we can see that play out in the shrinking performance of the numbers.
Right, Mr. Gospel Obele, thank you so much for joining us on the news. We'll take a break here and return with a review of the stock market. The equities market of the Nigerian Exchange Limited declined by 33 billion naira at the end of trading on Thursday as 23 firms saw their share prices fall. The NGX all-share index dropped by 0.15% to close at 43,285 basis points, while the market capitalization closed at 22.589 trillion naira. Market activities was negative as the total volume of shares exchanged fell to 210 million units valued at 2 billion naira, exchanging hands in 3,423 deals. At the end of trading on the floor of the NGX, the market sentiment as measured by the market breadth was negative. ICT giant Chams PLC closed as the worst performing stock today after its share value depreciated by 2 kobo, followed by Regalins, which also lost 3 kobo at the close of trading. Meanwhile, on the gainers table, the best performing stock for the trading today day was Vitafoam, rising by 10%. E-Transact PLC followed suit on the gainers counter. Moving on to the global market, that's our FTSE, the Dow Jones and the Nikkei. They are all in the negative territory. In London, the decline in leading shares has picked up pace, with the FTSE closing to its low for the day. This is mainly as a result of fall in crude price. The US stocks, that's Dow Jones, also was low on Thursday after disappointing jobless claims data. Japan stocks Nikkei finished lower for second straight session on Thursday as investors continued withdrawing profits off the table on tracking negative lead from Wall Street overnight. That's all on Stock Market Review. Over to Folashade for the rest of the news.
Well, many thanks, Abisala, for that update. Well, on the foreign scene, doctors in Sudan say 14 people have been shot dead by security forces as thousands took to the street to protest against the recent military takeover. Coup leader Abdel Fattah al-Burhan in October dismissed the government, arrested dozens of politicians and named himself the head of a new sovereign council. Activists have called for mass demonstrations to mark the day when a civilian was supposed to assume the leadership of the government sovereign council. Meanwhile, al-Burhan and his colleagues who seized power are determined to stop anti-military protests from gaining any momentum. Well, up next is Entertainment Reporter News Now.
Netflix has unveiled the first look teaser at its first Nigerian Christmas comedy, A Niger Christmas, directed by filmmaker Kole Afolayan. Set to launch on the streamer on December 16, the comedy starring Rachel Oniga, Efa Iwara, Kunle Remi, and Alvin Abayomi follows the lives of three brothers, Ugo, Chike, and Obi, and their mother, whose one wish is for her sons to bring home brides. Set in Lagos, A Niger Christmas was shot around July with actors Mercy Johnson, Lateef Adedimeji, Caroline King, Adelaoye, and Linda Osifo in supporting roles. Nigerian music stars Peter and Paul Okoye have hit the big 40 hours after reconciliation. The duo posted celebratory captions along with pictures on their individual Instagram pages wishing each other well. The reconciliation got social media buzzing when a video surfaced online in which they both hugged each other and reconciled again. Colleagues and fans have taken to their respective pages to express absolute joy seeing them back together and also wish them the best of celebrations. This is the first time in 5 years the twin brothers will be celebrating their birthday together since the split from their former brand name, P-Square. And that is all that we have for you in the entertainment segment of News Now.
Away from entertainment and out to sports, Super Eagles coach Gennett Rohr will learn his fate in the next 1 week following the Eagles' lackluster display against Cape Verde in the final game of their Group C World Cup qualifier on Tuesday. Minister of Youth and Sports Development Sunday Dare gave the hint during the ministerial press briefing organized by the presidential media team at the Villa in Abuja on Thursday. The minister added that the reports from the Nigerian Football Federation on the performance of the team in the recent matches will be reviewed and due process will be followed before necessary action is taken. Dare also noted that all measures have been put in place to ensure that Super Eagles must qualify for the Qatar 2022 World Cup. And it's a wrap on our news bulletin. Many thanks for watching. I am Folashade Ogurinde. Bye for now.